Oh, yep. Okay, I know we will have some straggling in, so I think what we're going to do is just modify and adjust on the fly here. Ideally, we would have all kind of heard this together, but since you guys are here and they're anxiously awaiting for anyone to come and participate in the escape rooms, we'll go ahead and get started. If you have not scanned in and signed in with the QR code, please make sure that you do that. That's how you get your certificate, hours, and then also for prizes here at the very end. So welcome to the Mentor Mentee celebration. We have a couple of little housekeeping things that we'll go over, and then we'll just be able to have some time with your mentor champion, just making sure you are set up, ready to go for these last couple of weeks of school. Of course, treats galore back in the back, so please enjoy. There's plenty of food there. Couple of things to go over for today's goals. The welcome, I have a short inclusion activity, which we're going to pause because we need more than a few people at each table. Although I guess we could do one go round with just you guys. And then a treat yourself, which is already happening, the escape room. And while you're not escaping from the escape room, then
Andy Beeson, please go to parent pickup. Andy Beeson, please go to parent pickup.
Then you can just double check. Hopefully you've submitted all of your Mentee checklist. And then I do have a short survey. I know I came around and met with you individually, or most of you individually. We're kind of running out of time for a couple that we've had to reschedule for some different reasons, myself included being sick. But I just wanted to kind of get your feedback as we transition out of your first year of the Mentee Mentor Champion program into the second year. So here's our inclusion activity. My hopes, of course, with any of our inclusion activities or any activities here you can take into your classroom. This one's called Weekend in a Word. So each team member shares how their weekend was in one word. You can't use the same word that someone else used. And we're going to do the spice things up component where you say your words in alphabetical order. So the first person would use an adjective that starts with the letter A, the next person B, C, and so on. Okay, so I'll pause for just a moment. Think about your weekend. And just to kind of eliminate the stress of like, what's my letter going to be? How about we do a lineup real quickly? Let's see. If you, what can we do? If you are completely finished with all your paperwork, starting over here, and then lining up all the way to, that's why we're here. Yep, that's exactly why we're here. So there might be a big bob over here of like, we think we're finished, but this gives me an idea as well for as we move forward. So if you think you're finished, you're making an assumption that you're finished, and then moving toward, maybe you still have an artifact or two to submit to, which I pray no one in here is this, to I don't have anything completed. So if you will just pause, yes, you will stress me out actually, to pause, you're snacking for just a second and line up real quick, and then we'll do our weekend in a word. And you know what? I'm not really ever going to know. Trying to make it. There we go. Okay. So we are lined up in our order. So really quickly, Peyton, you'll start with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. So that should lower your stress of like, what's my letter going to be? And that way you can hear how everybody else's weekend was, because if I was in your place and I was standing there, I would be thinking, what's my letter? What's my letter? What's my letter? What's my letter? So we give you 10 seconds to ponder on what your letter might be, what your word might be for your weekend. Okay, all right, works for me. All right, Miss Peyton, how was your weekend? Adventurous. Where did you do?
I watched all the Star Wars movies for the first time.
Oh, very cool. I've not seen them all, so I would need to binge watch as well. Very cool.
Busy.
Busy. Great. Danny?
Chiefs draft.
Chiefs draft. Like combined word, right?
Well, mine's kind of, I want to say down a little bit because I didn't feel very well Saturday.
Oh. Are you feeling better?
Yeah.
Yes. Yay. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Still, yeah, actually, I was really getting excited again.
Exciting? Okay, very good.
Family.
Huh?
Family.
Family. Okay, gotcha. I thought you said Vammer. I was like, I have no idea what that word is. And that would be down here. Yes.
I was going to say great.
Great. Perfect.
I'm going to go simple and say happy.
Happy. Awesome.
Inattentive.
Inattentive. All right, very good. So inattentive because you just chose to decompress and chill out and...
Yeah, I was sick, so I just like...
Hey, you got to have those vegging moments, right? So as you kind of, if we had more people, my thought was with everybody in here, we would just kind of go around the table a bit. But what would be some implications or how are some different ways that you might be able to use this in your classroom?
A review game.
A review game, perfect. What else? Yeah, just like a brain break. Although sometimes finding the word might be a little stressful for a minute. I think that's where setting up that structure of them knowing ahead of time what their word is, so they aren't, freaking out about A, B, C, D counting down. It's kind of like when you did round robin as a kid, or well, I may be aging myself a hot minute here, but you would try to figure out who the teacher was going to be calling on next, so you could figure out what paragraph you had to figure out what big words were in there. So Katie. With the letter J, how was your weekend in a word?
Oh, joyful.
Joyful, perfect, very good. Just coming in hot right now. You are more than welcome to return back to your seat, Katie, if you want to enjoy your snacks. So that's just a very simple, low prep, very little prep, honestly, just associating it with your standard and your curriculum. So we have talked a lot about those phases of teaching, and we have the anticipation stage, the survival stage, the disillusionment, coming back up, the rejuvenation, and we are right smack dab, hopefully, in the reflection phase. We have 2 more weeks of school left. We're in that point where you're kind of thinking back over the year. Maybe you're seeing what went well, what didn't go well. Maybe you're making some adjustments. I was having a conversation about just how quickly this year went by and flew by. For me, this is my 23rd year of teaching, 22nd year in education, and it was the fastest year known to me. So rather than surviving to the end, I would like to reframe that as thriving to the end. So a few things just to kind of go over as we close out this year. With our model of instruction, I selected arrows with basically a huge chunk of what we went over that was embedded or specifically taught during our Mentee meetings. Some of the proficiency skills and rubrics were happening at the building. They're still being built in some ways. But we talked about reflecting on learning, organizing students to interact. We talked about processing content, whether you knew it explicitly and it was just embedded, or we actually had specific professional development, motivating and inspiring students. We talked about establishing rules and procedures early on, one of our very first Mentee meeting. So we've hit a huge chunk of these core strategies or core concepts that if you do at bare minimum these things, you're going to be a phenomenal teacher. Like when in doubt, refer to the model of instruction of like, hey, what can I do on this list? And this is what's going to get me some success in my classroom. So a couple of things that I just wanted to address as we're winding down. As much as you can, keep that routine. Some of your kiddos, notice number 8, be mindful of students' emotions. They're starting to have some anxiety about maybe returning to a home life that isn't so pleasant. Maybe they're aren't looking forward to it. Maybe they're moving, maybe they're changing a grade level and they've gotten used to the routine that's in that building, or changing buildings, period, honestly, not just grade level. But keeping that routine as much as possible, because that will help those that calmness that can kind of happen. It may be a little crazy towards the last couple of weeks, but whenever you can, embed that routine. Increasing movement, brain breaks, mindfulness, just some breathing activities and strategies that we've talked about all throughout the year. But just really being aware that they maybe have a little spring fever, you might have a little spring fever, the two collide, and it's kind of sometimes it can be just an exasperating situation, but we just gotta, be mindful of that, embrace it, increase the movement, those pieces. Are there activities that you've wanted to try? Even if it's a genius hour where they can focus on something that they're extremely passionate about, escape rooms, PBL, little mini PBL project that you might want to do. And then that goes along with number 4 of just trying something new. Is there something you've been kind of wanting to try, but just didn't have an opportunity to? And maybe you've got some standards you're still needing to plod along with, and that's okay too. Just be aware that, they're a little antsier. And then providing opportunities for them to reflect on the year as well as you. What were their big takeaways? Finding out and really looking at their growth and where they started the year and where they've ended the year, and then celebrating those accomplishments. Both yourself, individually, outside of standing in front of students, but where did you start? What were some big rocks for you? And then how did those evolve throughout the year? And then starting that plan for the future for yourself. But you can also take a break. Take the summer months, those kinds of things, although we all know that some of you might have PD, you might be teaching summer school, all those things, so wherever you can infuse that break. But then a couple of ideas for planning for the future, just having your students write letters of success to the incoming students. So when I taught second grade, I would have my outgoing second graders write words of advice to my incoming second graders. And one of the things I did not like to be pecked on, like for someone to follow me around, and I would be like, I'm not a mama bird, please don't peck me. That was kind of a standing rule in my classroom. So inevitably, most everybody's letter out of second grade is, she's not a mama bird, don't follow her around and peck on her, which I had to explain to my incoming second graders what that really meant. So just, it's kind of interesting to read kind of their perception of what second grade or what their grade level was like. And you can kind of modify that as well for the older age levels. And then again, just hammering in that being mindful of students' emotions. They may be experiencing excitement, and then at the same token, they can be experiencing some angst and some anxiety that's going along with change and just out of routine, all those things. So just keeping that in mind. So what we're going to do with the group that's here, we'll have a couple of escape rooms going, and then when you're not escaping, then you can go over, just make sure you're good with your checklist, those kinds of things, check in with your mentor champion. I do have a mentor survey for mentor and mentees to both fill out. It's a shortened link, Mentee, and that's EOY for end of year. Just, it looks a little weird with the 3 E's, but there was a reason there. And just make sure that you provide that feedback. You can be honest, even if your name's associated with it. I've met with you one-on-one, and I feel like a lot of you were very honest, or most everybody I met with is very honest. So just keep that in mind. We want to improve this program, and then I will get information out to you on what year 2 will look like, because I plan to, maybe not as often, but just once a quarter, or as needed if we need more. But I'm looking for some ideas of what do you, knowing what you know now, and you may not know what you don't know just yet, and that's okay. Just what you might want year 2's PD to be about. We kind of chatted about that a little bit in the meetings, but what questions might you have? Sweet. All right, so let's move to the transition to escape rooms. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we can do 5 and 5, and that would get both rooms going at the same time. So, music in PE. Culture. Hi. So music in PE. Let's go to one of the tents, and then junior high, middle school, high school-ish. Yeah.
Are you required to participate?
Well, you're not required, but
It's not for me, I'm doing it.
oh, you don't. Okay. Okay. No, you don't have to. You don't have to at all. Do you want to hop in her spot to do the escape room? And then you can get your snacks? Yeah. And then you have time to come back and do your escape room. Or eat. I can watch them. Yeah.
This on anything?
No, I will. I'll catch you back up. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Oh. Yes, dear. Right now, not yet, but maybe in a little bit. Okay. We'll see what they say.